Welcome to Dad's Cutting Board. This is the second in our series of cast iron videos. A lot of you have been asking me about how to properly use, care for, restore, and season your pans. So when you get them from the store, most of them are going to come pre-seasoned like this Lodge 10 SK, which is the 12-inch skillet that I recommended in my previous video that you go out and buy, or the Legend that's available on Amazon. After several years of use, pretty much constant, several days a week, you can achieve a really nice level of seasoning. But what if you wanted to take a quick shortcut and achieve very similar results, maybe in just a quick afternoon? The traditional method of seasoning will tell you to put this in the oven, heat the oven to 200 degrees, take it out, put a very thin film of oil onto the pan, turn it upside down, and then turn your oven on to the highest temperature that you can achieve. This particular oven here is a Frigidaire, pretty basic, but it can go to about 550. That's excellent for seasoning. If you've got a lot of pieces to season all at once, I would recommend that. But if you've only got one or two pieces that you need to season, I've got a better way, and it's a lot faster. So this is actually a wrought iron pan. I bought into this as a Kickstarter a few years ago, a little different construction methodology. This isn't cast, it's actually stamped iron, so it's a lot thinner. I don't know if you can see how thin that handle is, and it's basically indestructible. Cast iron, while being really rugged and tough, is subject to cracking. You can actually crack it if you drop it, and so that's where this would come in. The other thing is it's very nice and light. Got a nice little ergonomic handle. I kind of neglected it, and it developed some rust spots in here. So I'm going to go ahead and use this pan for our subject today in terms of seasoning. So the big question is, what kind of oil should you use to season your pan? There's a lot of people out there that are going to tell you a lot of hocus pocus, but there's some really basic science that goes into this. What you're trying to achieve is a full carbon layer inside the pan. And to do that, you need an oil that's got a low smoke point. Okay, so there really is one best oil, but I'm not necessarily going to tell you that you have to go out and use this singular oil. The absolute best oil to use to season your pan is going to be raw organic flaxseed. Okay, and the reason being, this has got a very low smoke point. If you know what flax seeds are, in the paint industry, they're referred to as linseed oil. So you don't want to use linseed oil, okay? You need to use this as a flaxseed oil, a food grade product. But for all intents and purposes, they're the same. So yeah, we're actually going to be creating a varnish, if you will, inside the pan. And that's what we want to achieve. And it does a couple of things for you, right? It creates a slick surface and seals that pan from keeping it from getting rusted. And let's talk a little bit about that finish. So can you wash this with soap and water? Absolutely you can. Once you have a good seasoning on your pan, it is sealed. So there's an old wives' tale that will tell you never put water inside of here, never put any soap inside of here. Okay, that's crap, basically. In the old days when soap was made with lye, it was the same as easy off oven cleaner, essentially. So yeah, it would remove the seasoning of a lightly seasoned pan. But with today's soaps, if you're using something like Dawn, you're completely fine. Nothing's going to happen. And even if it does, you can easily restore it back to a great condition. You know, if you've got 30 or 40 years to wait, you can get to this really nice, dull, flat black pan. But you probably don't have that much time. So, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get this pan really, really ripping hot. And then we're going to apply some flaxseed oil there. And you need to have a good range hood. Okay, if you do this inside your house, expect the smoke alarms to go off. If you could do this outside on an outdoor grill side burner is ideal, okay? And this is pretty basic. We're going to use a pair of tongs. I like these OXO brand tongs, they're nice. Our oil. And we're going to roll up some paper towel into a nice tight little wad. Now what's really important here is that you get a very thin sheen of oil onto the pan when you're heating it up. And the reason being is if you have too thick of a level of oil on there, it'll probably develop into a gummy surface, and then you're going to have to start over, and you probably will have to use something like Easy Off Oven Cleaner to get that gummy residue off of there. So let's get the burner started here. This is my highest output burner. I'm going to turn my range hood on. So I apologize, it's going to make a little bit of extra noise. As you can hear, it's a pretty powerful range hood. And we're going to open up again, organic flax seed oil. Now, while we're waiting for the pan to heat up, I want to talk about the alternative choices for oils. I like this. This is the best, but it's expensive. This little bottle here, which is 16 ounces, costs about $13. So some people put this into their food, trying to increase their omega-3s. It's really not bioavailable anyway, so that's kind of a hoax. So what do I recommend? If you don't want to swing the $13 for this, spend $2 and get a jar of canola oil, okay? You can use it for your regular cooking if that's what you like to use. I generally use olive oil. Interestingly enough, Pam, in this case, this is the store brand canola oil cooking spray. This would actually work as well. So you could spray it a little bit, rub it around, make sure it's well and evenly distributed across the surface of that pan. But we're going to use this organic flaxseed oil. I'll put a link to an article that describes why flaxseed oil, aka linseed oil, will provide you with the easiest carbonized finish for your cast iron pans. So you can see where we're at here. We're getting there. I'm only going to show you the first time that I'm going to do this. You need to do this for probably a minimum of 6 times. And we'll take a look at this pan. One of the nice things about this pan too is the handle doesn't really get hot. And hopefully you can see the interior of this pan. This pan was actually rusted a few minutes ago. I put in some plain vinegar to remove that rust. So if you have a pan that you've unfortunately neglected, in this case, that's a very expensive pan. I probably shouldn't have neglected it so much. Plain white vinegar will remove that rust in about 15 minutes. I don't know how you're going to be able to see this one. This is a smaller version of that same pan. These two pans, unfortunately, got left in a place where some recycling cans were happening and some soda water dripped into there. So this one's pretty well rusted inside of here, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with vinegar as well. But our pan should be pretty close to hot. This might take a minute or two while that's happening. We'll see if my little wad here, I might have a piece of cloth. So if you've got a little cotton rag, old t-shirt, you can use that too to help distribute the oil. This one I've used quite a few times. So you can go ahead, in some cases you can actually lock those tongs. This is what I like about these OXOs. They can go ahead and take that little bit. We're going to go ahead. Oh, it's tricky. Life happens, right? Maybe what I'm going to do is we're evolving as we go here, right? Now that's a lot of oil, way more than you're going to need, but we're going to get it soaked in here. And actually, this is actually the method that this particular pan maker recommends for seasoning. They don't recommend the oven bake method, 200 degrees, warm it up to that, rub your oil on, turn it over, crank it up to 500. You basically have to spend your entire Saturday doing that because you need to do it about 6 times, and the recommended bake time is 1 hour between oilings. Here, this is only going to take a few minutes. And what we're trying to achieve here, this pan is now hot because I can see it starting to turn a blue, kind of a blued steel color. Okay? You definitely need to use tongs when you do this because that pan should be ripping hot as you can possibly get. This is my highest output burner. I've got that on high, and we're going to go ahead and look inside there. I don't know if you can see it starting to turn blue. If you remember before, it was kind of raw steel, raw iron, I should say. Alright, so hopefully you can see the smoke. And we're just going to keep doing this process. And like I said, I hope you have a good range hood, because you're going to need it to do this. If you feel it starting to drag at all, that means you're building up kind of a gummy surface, and you don't want that. What you want to do is you want to achieve a uniform blackness. And I'm going to continue this process. You don't want to watch this is boring, but I'm going to keep doing this 6 or 7 times until that pan is going to be either a nice golden hue, which is an acceptable level, or a black sheen. I can smell that. It smells like burning kind of fish right now, and that's the flaxseed oil getting to work inside that pan. So what we're doing is we're carbonizing this, okay? So when I come back, we'll have, hopefully, a fully seasoned pan, and I'll tell you how many times I did it. All right, so I finished my 10th application of, again, organic flaxseed oil. It smells like burning paint in here, so I hope you have a really good range hood. Even with that going, it did kind of tweak my smoke alarm a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit about the rag too, okay? So we have superheated flaxseed oil, aka linseed oil, aka varnish. So this rag is now a danger. So what I'm going to recommend is that you take it to your sink and you saturate this with water. Linseed oil has a known history of self-combustion. So you want to be able to make sure that you're taking care of your family while you're taking care of your pots and pans, right? So I'm going to go put this in the sink, and then we'll look at the pan. I'm going to put on my oven mitt here. Maybe not that one, that was kind of scary looking. We'll go a little Christmas one here. Shut my burner off. I had to move it from my big burner in the front, which is my highest output burner, to my back burner to make sure that it was fully underneath the range hood. So let's make sure everything's off. We're off. And if you remember, in the earlier portion of the video, this pan was silver and all the finish was completely removed. So this pan is really ripping hot right now. But in under 10 minutes, I was able to achieve a nice, uniform seasoning of this pan. And again, this isn't cast iron, but this will work equally well in your regular cast iron pans. Incidentally, if you have a wok, and it's a carbon steel wok, that's exactly how you achieve that same kind of finish inside of your wok. I don't use my wok all that often anymore. I used to use it a lot. Kind of do some of the things that I did in my wok with my Instant Pot, steaming and whatnot. So today I hope we've covered all the topics that everyone has been interested in. First off is care and use of your cast iron pan, how to properly season it, right? And I do want to talk a little bit about that seasoning. In the beginning, first year or so, you really need to treat that seasoning with kid gloves around acid foods. And so any kind of tomato product. This is not a plug for Rotel. I'm going to make some chili later and I'm going to include that. But if you're putting any tomato things into the cast iron, it's probably going to remove that seasoning level. So I would steer clear of anything that's got acid. So that would include lemons and wine. So you'll probably see on the internet, there's all these great videos, great instructables on how to make shakshuka. So tomatoes and eggs, or eggs in purgatory is often called. And it looks fantastic in a cast iron pan. Don't recommend it. Get something with enamel. Lodge makes an enamel pan. It looks exactly like black cast iron on the inside, but it's really black enamel to make it look like black cast iron. So once you've done your 10th and final seasoning on your pan, let it cool to room temperature. I'm just turning my fan down so I don't have to scream at you. I hope this comes through on there. So again, thank you for watching my video here at Dad's Cutting Board, and look for the information down below, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.